All right, good morning, class, and welcome to today's tutorial. So today we're going to be adding chords to our melody of Jingle Bells. So you'll need your melody of Jingle Bells that was aligned to the timeline, and hopefully you have that from your earlier assignment. If not, if you weren't able to successfully complete that assignment, you can download my version and start with that. Okay, so what you also need the music to Jingle Bells, which is available in Google Classroom, as well as a Google Doc with the fingerings for the piano chords that we're going to enter. So here's our music that's going to tell us where these chords are happening, and then in Google Docs we have how to play the keys to play each one of the chords in Jingle Bells. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and enter the chords for the first 4 bars of Jingle Bells. Now remember, especially those of you who've never played piano or a very limited piano experience, you don't have to learn the entire thing all at once. You can chunk it into 4-bar segments, and that makes it much easier. Also, try to find spots that repeat. So, and you'll see Jingle Bells has a lot of repetition in it. So, for example, the first 4 bars are all C major chords. So this should be pretty easy to record. So I'm going to go into GarageBand and turn on the looping function, and let's zoom in a little bit. And I'm just going to record the first 4 bars of Jingle Bells in my Steinway track using a root position C major chord. You might want to. Right now I have it set to 2 bars. I'm going to change that to 1 bar. If you need to do it 2 bars, if you're having a hard time getting ready and set with the notes, go ahead and change it to 2 bars. But I'm going to make it 1. There we go. 4 measures done. So let's move our loop to the next 4 bars and check out what chords we need for the next 4 bars of Jingle Bells. Okay, so we need a 1 bar of F, 1 bar of C, 1 bar of D, and 1 bar of G. So let's check the Google Doc and see how to play these chords. So there's our D major, uses that F sharp, that black key. All right, I'm going to hit record and enter the chords for the next part of Jingle Bells. Okay, I'm going to move my loop to the next 4 and see what we have. Now here you can see this is a repeat of the first 4 measures. So you could either re-record that, or what I'm going to do is just select the audio, copy, and paste. And then for the next 4 bars, let's take a look at what we need to play. F, C, G, C. Okay, so I'm going to move my loop to the next 4 bars, hit record, and go ahead and enter the chords. Alright, so this last little section here, let's give this a little listen. So for this, I'm going to do 2 bars of a G and then followed by a bar of a C. Alright, and I'm going to switch up the rhythmic pattern and do an 8th note thing. Alright, now that we have everything in, I'm going to go ahead and select all my audio and do some basic editing, starting in the editor window and quantizing everything to the 8th note. If you don't do that little 8th note thing that I did at the end, you could get away with quarter note or maybe even half note. Alright, so now I'm just going to go ahead and make sure everything looks good, and that I'm not actually a piano player, and sometimes I hit 2 keys at once, and I want to make sure that I didn't do that and get rid of any of the any of wrong notes that I may have played during my recording. That actually looks pretty good, so I think I'm set here. Alright, next thing I'm going to do is So this is fine. This is good. This is we have melody and harmony, and everything's working. Let's give it a listen to see how they sound together. I'm gonna do a bass line track now. I'm still gonna stick with the piano. We'll change the sounds later, but for the bass part, what I'm gonna do is just play root notes. So the root of a chord is the letter which it's named. So the root of a C major chord is a C. The root of an F major chord is an F. Root of a D major chord is a D, and the root of a G is a G. So I'm gonna go ahead and record my bass line for Jingle Bells. Alright, so there was one part in there where I think I had, yeah, it looks like right about here in bar 17. I'm going to select this note and get rid of it. Now I should be good. Just go ahead and quantize that. Alright, and I think we're ready to go. Alright, so let's listen to all three parts together. When you're mixing, you always want the melody first and foremost. So I just want to adjust these levels a little bit so that the melody's coming through. And you may have noticed that I'm not just sticking to one note in the bass line, but I am playing one note, but I'm playing different octaves of that note, just to give the part a little bit more interest. Alright, so once you have the bass, melody, and chords entered into GarageBand, I would suggest experimenting with different sounds that have some interesting features and some interesting sounds, particularly if you go to the synthesizer family of sounds. Now, some of those don't work perfectly, so you'll have to use your ear as a guide, but let me show you what I mean. So, for example, let's start with our melody here. Instead of a classic electric piano, I'm going to go to the synthesizer lead category. And already, that's a much more interesting sound. So let me move on here, and you'll see what I mean, especially in the chord family of the synthesizers. Let's see how Sunrise chord sounds. So you can hear there's some sort of rhythmic thing here that's going on that just gives it a little bit more interest. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with the bass. Earlier I was using this wobble bass, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. As you select new sounds, you might have to adjust your levels because sometimes these synthesizer sounds have they cut through the mix very easily, and sometimes you might have to adjust your levels a little bit. But here we have melody, harmony, and bass using block chords and then altering the sound using roots and octaves within the bass. And I provided a drummer track in the template. But like I said, I hope those of you who are able to successfully complete part one, you use yours and do something similar where you choose your own drummer and you choose your own sounds. But that's this week's assignment is to create a arrangement of Jingle Bells from your original part one of the melody by adding chords and bass line and changing the sounds to your liking.